Tom, let's talk about all the ways you can end up in jail as a law-abiding gun owner.
From the headlines, it seemed pretty cut and dry.
I'm gonna be careful going in there.
Then 50-year-old Ford employee Billy Coert was charged with attempted murder for shooting his gun in the United Auto Workers 551 parking lot in June 2016.
To have everything you worked for taken away.
Coert was suspended and then terminated from his job with Ford, where he had worked for nearly 2 decades.
You think you're doing everything right, next thing you know, they're slapping the cuffs on and you've lost your job. What's the most important thing someone should remember?
And there's lots of most important things you should remember.
Maybe that was the wrong choice of words, but because there's some big ones out there.
There's some big ones.
Yeah, like, don't fire a warning shot or something like that. So.
Well, let's start there. Warning shots, great way to go to prison.
Yeah.
I do not suggest firing warning shots. Keep in mind that every single time you're involved in a deadly force encounter, there are 2 spheres of this deadly force encounter. One is the kinetic sphere. That's the guy who's trying to rob you right now or has broken into your house or whatever's going on. The second one is the legal sphere. It is also a deadly force encounter because if you don't play ball with either one, a guy with a gun is going to tell you what's going to happen next.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those are both problems. Warning shots will solve, in my experience, for the kinetic sphere. They are 100% effective from what I have seen as far as getting the bad guy to go away. They are equally as effective at getting the prosecutors to charge you and try to put you in jail.
Yeah, and getting the police to come and talk to you, not to him.
Yes. So that's one right there. I would say another one is using force too late. Okay. So sometimes you see this where you have a good guy who might be justified in shots number 1, 2, 3, but not so much justified in shots 4, 5, 6, or 7, 8, 9, or 10, 11, 12, or and so on, right? So you got to understand, your continuum for the use of force starts and stops when you are in reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm, or however it is that your state frames self-defense language, that's what you are talking about. And when you are no longer facing that deadly threat, you must cease deadly force, okay? So you basically have these windows. There might be more than one window, right? Oh, the bad guy comes into your store, he sticks a gun in your face. You can now use deadly force. The guy starts running away. You cannot use deadly force. He comes back into your shop to try to shoot you. You can now use deadly force, right? And you gotta understand that there's different levels of prosecutors, different levels of cops and judges out there. Sometimes they're reasonable and they'll understand that, you shot the bad guy once, you hit him in the leg, he went down to the floor, but he still had his gun and was trying to aim at you. You shoot at that guy. A reasonable cop, a reasonable prosecutor should understand that if they saw that on tape, that's justified use of force. He was still a threat even though you shot him and he's down. You also have unreasonable cops and prosecutors, and I'm mainly thinking about prosecutors here, not cops, just so we're clear, who are gonna say, hey, you shot him, he's down, you can't do anything until he pulls the trigger or until he says something or really zeroes it in on you or something like that, right? There's always kind of this unreasonable prosecutor test out there. And believe me, Kevin, they exist.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
There's unreasonable prosecutors.
I know, stunning as that may be.
Knock me over with a feather.
So we got warning shots, we've got using force too late. We likewise have using force too early, right? So someone appears like they're gonna be going into their pocket and they're just acting suspicious and you think for whatever reason they're going for a gun, you pull out your firearm and shoot them, turns out it was a cell phone and they never said anything threatening in the first place. Just whatever it was, you're having a bad day, you were imagining things, whatever, okay? This is not something you see nearly as often as late use of force, but it's the counterpart to late use of force is early use of force.
And going back to the late use of force discussion about that, we want people who carry guns to have the capacity and the ability to defend themselves and be prepared to defend themselves. But they also need to have the ability to stop defending themselves, to assess what's going on and stop defending themselves, because you're right, that's a lot of cases is like, the threat was over and you still kept shooting that person. You have to, for lack of a better term, keep your wits about you and understand what's going on.
It's no longer defending yourself if you have nothing or no one to defend yourself against.
Right, it's committing assault at that point.
Exactly, and that's, believe me, exactly how the prosecutor is going to be coming at you at your jury trial.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got warning shots, early use of force, late use of force. I would say another one
What about the defense of property? Self-defense, not self-defense. That's got to get some people crossed up.
Yeah, there are a couple jurisdictions out there that we're not going to go into where you can use deadly force to protect property, but by and large, for a 100% understandable reasons, someone's messing with your car, someone's messing with your house, someone's messing with your property. That's not fair, that's not right, that's wrong, that's a crime. You want to stop them, but maybe how you stop them and you foreseeably put yourself in a situation that could easily escalate. Next thing you know, they're going to tell them that the victim
Yeah.
who is just breaking into your car is going to tell the cops that, well, yeah, no, I don't know how that car window got broken, but I was minding my own business and this guy just stuck a gun in my face to rob me.
I wasn't doing nothing, and this guy's
Right.
pointing his gun at me.
Exactly.
So, and we're going to get right back around to this one because you just mentioned it right there. Talking to the cops.
Yeah.
Could that get you in trouble?
It nearly always gets you in trouble because you're banking on multiple things happening at once. You are banking on, first and foremost, and a lot of people fail to take this into consideration, that the cops are going to be asking you good questions and all of the questions they should be asking you, right? So for instance, let's imagine that someone tries to rob you and you pull out a gun in self-defense and you shoot them. Totally legit. If we saw a camera, if there was a camera there, yep, they stuck a gun in your face, you pulled out a gun back, right? Now I come in as an officer and I'm asking you, and I'm only asking you guilt-seeking questions, right? Well, did he say he was going to kill you? No. Oh, all right. Didn't say he was going to kill. Okay. And then how many times did you tell him to back off? What did you do here? What did you do there? I have seen cops, unfortunately, in self-defense gun cases in real life, where they only ask an incomplete set of guilt-seeking questions, and they don't ask them, for lack of a better way of putting it, innocence-seeking questions. Why did you pull out your gun, sir? Why did you feel like you had to pull the trigger? The sort of questions that will elicit the response where the information that we call evidence, by the way,
Yeah.
is produced to enter the landscape of the case of, oh, this is why it happened. And the result is that we don't have a lot of self-defense information that makes it into the police reports. Instead, we're left with, Kevin shot a guy.
Yeah, and that's the extent of the police report.
So
that's not going to be helpful at all.
No, not at all. And a lot of people just figure, oh, I'll play along with the cops and they'll play along with me because I did the right thing and I'm a good guy and I've never been in trouble and I pay my taxes. You're gambling that, A, the cops will be asking you the right questions. B, you're gambling the fact that they have all the correct information and are not going down any rabbit holes here. Rest assured, however they got there, whether it was you that called 911 or 10 other people, they're part of an investigation that's gathering information from all different sources, and some of that's probably funneling back to the officer or detective who's talking to you. What information are they being fed? How does that color their biases and their perceptions of who you are, what you were doing there, why you were there, and how you acted? Because you don't know how they're going to be writing their report once more.
Yeah, and that can all land you in jail. And you said something that I'm going to cling on to right now too. Having the right amount of information. Not having that information can land you in jail. You see a robbery going on inside, or what you think is a robbery going on inside a convenience store. You run in, there's a guy with a gun, you shoot him. You didn't have all the information. You just shot a good guy with a gun. You're going to go to prison over that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's defensive third person
Yeah,
issues.
when we're talking about that defending a third person without all the information, I was going to say without as much information as you needed, but without all the information, that could land you in jail too. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, let me finish off the talking to the cops problem, because there's another big component to that, which is if you screw up, right? Because we've been talking about if the cop screws up, we've been talking about if the cop's being misled, whether, through good forces or bad forces or whatever. What if another cop got a bad interrogation because through their own mistakes, or if they're talking to a witness who's lying and they're feeding that information back, right? And as a result, they wind up writing a bad report. But then there's what if you screw up? I have had defensive gun use cases where individuals, they just make mistakes. They misstate the location. They misstate the time. They misstate stupid things that they weren't trying to misstate. But the officers sometimes have a word for that. It's called lying.
Yeah, you lied to me. You told me that happened on 1st Street, not 2nd Street.
Exactly. So as a result, they can start to call into question the entire rest of your story. And keep in mind, most of the time, these defensive use encounters, they're happening at night. Your blood sugar is probably low, you're probably tired, you're definitely out of sorts. By the time that you're answering your third round of interrogations, it might be 6 hours later, you're stressed out. They are not catching you in any way, shape, or form at a good time, which is the reason why I always encourage people, you should exercise the same rights that law enforcement have in the event that they're involved in an OIS, an officer-involved shooting, which is, look, take a couple of days and talk to a lawyer, then come back and we're going to meet and go through this together.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's get into this defensive third person. That can land you in prison as well. And tell everybody how.
Well, you are allowed to defend a third person. So imagine you walk into a convenience store, right? And someone's pulling a gun on the cashier, and the cashier's behind the counter, right? And you were there for the entire thing, though, right? So you walked in a convenience store, you're shopping around, you grab some bubble gum or whatever, and you're just walking up to the cash register, and some guy walks in and says, you know, hey, give me everything. You probably have enough information at that point to say, oh, good guy, bad guy, even though they are not pointing the gun at you and have made no threats at you, at least yet. You would probably, if you choose to be involved and pull out your firearm self-defense, or rather defense of third person, you could have a self-defense argument of, well, I didn't know they're going to train it on me next, but more likely it would be a defense of third person. But what happens if, to your earlier point, we walk in and there's no one behind the cash register at that point? Or what happens if there is someone behind the cash register? Hey, there's a guy behind the cash register, they've got the gun. Okay, is that the robber who's getting the money out of the cashier or out of the cash register, to the extent that anybody steals cash? Or is that the cashier who's pulling out the firearm self-defense? Unless you know these people, you are making an educated guess at best.
Yeah.
One that could absolutely not only change your life, the life of the true victim of that, whoever the cashier is, but also the lives of all of your friends, family, and loved ones as well.
Absolutely. It's something people have to pay attention to and think about before they get in that situation. What are they going to do if they walk in? Slow down. And in that situation, maybe people are scared. They're not thinking about slow down and get all the information.
Chemicals. I don't care if we're talking about drugs. I don't care if we're talking about alcohol. Great way to put yourself in jail or prison if you want to start mixing those together with guns. That's a very easy way. Virtually every state is some sort of thou shall not be impaired with a firearm rule or law, let alone if you are using that firearm, because trust me, whatever tailwind you may have had of, he seemed like a good guy, I'm going to write a good report, is going straight downhill if you've got illegal drugs and substances or if you're absolutely sloshed. I'm not saying that it cannot turn out well for you, but you've created a lot of headwinds, let's put it that way, that are working against you.
What if you're pursuing a bad guy who's trying to run away?
Right. Well, that's fundamentally going to fall under the use of force too late category. No, but that's fantastic that you brought that up, because we see that happen all the time. I mean, we've seen this in videos and so forth, right, where good guys just pursue bad guys. It's so important it may actually just deserve its own category, even though it really lives in the use of force too late, but it's just so frequent. It's like road rages. I mean, road rages is just perfect, people... Someone cut me off. I don't know if they're a danger to me. I don't know if they're going to brake check me. I'm going to pull out my gun and start shooting, right? We've seen, unfortunately, any number of cases like that.
Yeah, and in that case, I wasn't thinking so much of the use of force too late. I was thinking of the trying to take someone into custody. You're going to hold them for the police to get there.
Sure.
Not your job, folks. And I guess maybe that's its own category. It falls into the what is not your job when it comes to carrying a firearm for self-defense. There's a whole lot of stuff out there that isn't your job. You just want to make sure that you get home safely. So,
yeah, juries are often not big fans of a victim or good Samaritan trying to act like they have a badge in their pocket.
Yeah.
And look, I am 0% trying to discourage folks from trying to step up and to save a life if you're in that situation. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the fact that once you are past and once you're downstream from the deadly force encounter, you are now living much more in the legal encounter, even though everything's still unfolding in front of you. Now the main threat, and I realize that you just never know, and someone's typing that in the comment section right now, but the main threat now becomes the legal threat. And if you're going to go and do a warning shot, a shot in the air, tackle him down, okay, you've got a gun. So you start fighting that person. We're making the assumption that you're going to win. There's no way that that weapon's going to be taken away from you or anything like that, right? Which we all know statistically that's not the case.
Absolutely.
And B, you're just assuming that everything's going to go down, peachy keen, like your day has been so far.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So, well, great insight as always, Tom. Thanks. I think we hit 9. We always want an odd number when we're doing stuff like this. Apparently, statistically speaking, that's, more people will watch if we provide them an odd number of examples. But I love that we get to sit down, talk about this kind of stuff, and maybe help some folks out. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin.
Did you know we have a secret gun giveaway going on right now? You can enter for free, but it ends really soon. Just click the link in the description below to reveal which brand new gun you could win.